I mean,
No, she
the
wasn't in that
discussion
body.
that we were having at this point was literally you could never use the bathroom because you'd always be worried someone would switch with you in the middle. And are they going to sit there for 40 minutes not touching your junk? Or are they going to leave you dirty? Are you going to come back? You didn't wipe my ass, or you didn't want me touching your ass. You know?
Yeah.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Stoneface Reactions. I'm Theta, this is Lessons, and we are back technically for the third time on the second episode, although for the second time on the second episode of Kokoro Connect. We previously recorded this entire episode, reaction, pre-episode discussion, etc., without recording any audio. And not just for the show, no audio of ourselves. I have like an hour-long recording. Yeah, not very fun. So, unfortunately, we were spot on. We were so good the first time around. We had a whole discussion about what it means to be in a body, souls, consciousness, what it means to be where and who you are, and the nature of memories. We did that before we watched the episode, and then the episode brought it up, and we're like, oh god, we're so fucking smart. And now everything we might do is going to feel either disingenuous or not as good as the first time. And unfortunately, that is just how it works. Like, you can't re-record a thing and have it be the same. That said, thank you to Zope for sponsoring this particular watch through. So let's start off with the board. Normally, of course, I have a board changelog, but I don't have a board changelog for episode 1 stuff because that's effectively like naming every character in the show. At that point, I leave it up to you guys to check the episode description, where, of course, we have links to the board, and you can look at it in your own time in better quality than you're probably looking at it down here.
We did see the teacher in the first episode, did we not?
We don't.
Oh.
You're talking about the opening or the ending credits, which does not count. We don't list people that we haven't seen yet.
No, we saw the teacher, not the homeroom teacher, yeah, which is also not here as well.
Again, we only bring up people that we've encountered during the show. People in the opening credits and the ending credits don't count as being in the show until they show up in the show.
No, but I'm sure we saw the homeroom teacher because
you're clearly not sure at all because you're saying it's true and it's not. Here's the problem: is that the feedback that I'm giving you proposes that I don't want you to point out mistakes when clearly I do. But the problem is that you're not pointing out a mistake; you're making a mistake, and there's no good way for me to give you feedback that you're making a mistake other than the normal way, which is to say, raise my voice and say that you're wrong. Well, because that's the way we go back and forth. Neither of us ever admits that we're wrong. When you prove me wrong, you come back and tell me I'm wrong. When I prove you wrong, I send you a message between episodes. We are both wrong quite often, but on recording, we'll never say that. And in this time, I'm telling you, you are wrong. That is not a character that appears during the episode, very specifically, because I can tell you right now off the top of my head that we don't go to any classes in the first episode. We go to the club room. So essentially we go from them at home, them walking to school, them entering the club room, them leaving school.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no teacher involvement at any point. So again, you can only be remembering the opening or ending. I don't particularly remember the opening and ending because I have notes about the, again, rainbow thing going around and what Kokoro means. I don't actually remember what the ending is at all. But I do remember you bringing up the fact that the teacher, during our episode 1 reaction, was in the opening or ending.
Yeah.
So I can only believe that's where you're pulling that from.
Well, they do go to a classroom, but not take a class, because that's what happens to
the only person in there. Well, no, remember, she forgot her book. So she goes back to get her book, and then when they switch, he opens his eyes. He's looking in the slot where the books are. It's also not a class in use. There's no teacher there. Then the person that's there is the chief, the class representative.
Class president.
1-3. Well, because there's only two classes being represented here, Class 1-1 and
Yeah.
Class 1-3, because they're all first years. Class 1-1
Mhm.
being comprised of our two blondes, Class 1-3 being comprised of everyone else.
One else, yeah. Well, then I was wrong. So I go back and
Cool, but
watch it
you've
again.
not made any other commentary about the board, other than persons that are absent.
Oh, that's all I noticed this time around.
So, comments. We have a Spiral Matt from a story that had already begun before anyone realized it. Has he seen Silent Voice either? Ko no Katachi is the second movie of all times. It even defeat Your Name, aka Kimi no Na wa, in 5th place. And, well, why don't you answer that before I move on to the rest of the comment?
No, I have not.
You've never heard of Silent Voice?
Well, I have, because this is the second time you gone through your notes. So yes, I
Well,
have heard of
technically, it's a
Silent
comment.
Voice.
I don't even know my notes yet.
Yeah. So he says comment, so yes. But I heard it the first time from this commentator.
I am
in this
surprised,
comment.
actually, that your Silent Voice is the second of all time, and Your Name is only 5th, because Your Name, I think, is the more popular movie. I'm not saying it's better. I also haven't seen either of them, but I'm familiar with them, and I know what them are about. Like, I know what the emotional hook is to both of them. I think I could say this, because it's not really going to spoil anything about what they're about. Well, here, I know less about Silent Voice, which is why I'm surprised that it's second. Like, it's over Your Name. Your Name is the one where, like, a comet or a meteor goes overhead, and these two people switch bodies. Ironically, they switch bodies, and they're trying to figure out who they are and all this stuff. And it turns out like one of them died a long time ago. There's also a time element that you're switching places with like you fall in love with a person, trying to figure out who they are, and you're thinking, oh, they might be like in another country or another county or something like that, and you're trying to figure out who they are and where they are, and you find out, oh, they died. They're not even alive. So that's the emotional aspect of that one.
Oh, so they're both watching the comet, but they were not watching the. They're watching
No.
the comet.
They literally switch
by.
bodies. Like I think the comet is the mechanism by which that's supposed to have happened.
No. But what if they're watching the comet? Both of them. They're watching different times. The comet.
I don't know if
So
they're
the comet
watching
came
the
by.
comet. I don't know if they're watching the comet. Like I'm saying that's just the mechanism for which I don't think the comet has anything to do with the story. I don't know. As I said, I don't see it. I just know what the emotional hook is. Like, oh, I can see why that's a good movie based on the description. I think. Sorry, my problem with Silent Voice is that I know a bunch of stories from really good anime movies that could be. I think it's the one about the girl who has like no hearing. She has like a hearing aid device, and she gets picked on all the time.
I seen the trailers for it. And this guy who travels the world, like he's a backpacker, and
no, that's not the one I'm talking about.
Oh, okay.
The one I'm talking about, it's high school. Like, she has no hearing and everything. She gets picked on in high school all the time, and it's like the school bully that turns out to understand her completely, that sort of thing. Again,
because the one
might be the wrong one. Let me just look up the name real quick. You keep talking.
The one I'm talking about, she is a college student, and he is like I think he's an employee in a local restaurant, but he's like a backpacker. He's just someone who's wandered the world, so he knows a lot about different languages, and he also knows sign language. So that's how they connect.
A former class bully reaches out to the deaf girl he'd tormented in grade school. He feels unworthy of redemption, but tries to make things right.
No, sadly not the one I was talking about.
You talking about 5 centimeters per second?
Yeah, I am.
No, never mind. I was just sorry. I looked at the trailer. That's another one that I wanted to watch at some point, but I never have. Inseparable fourth graders, bonded by a love of books, begin to slowly drift apart when their families relocate. They're both wearing backpacks in the trailers, and you're talking like, well, a bunch of backpackers. Anyway, rest of the comment. And what concern would that be on 1941? Timestamp. Haha. I'm guessing where baby has come from on 2542 when she whispers it to Iori.
Mm.
All right, so to my comments, which are going to be reiterative only to us, not to you, the viewer. Tachi is a fan of John Cena and The Undertaker, both posters in rooms he spends a lot of time in. Iori comments that he stays up late watching pro wrestling as well. Finally, he admits it himself in monologue where he wanted to be in a pro wrestling club that doesn't exist.
I mean, that was a thing that happened.
You know,
I
we've
don't know.
only
It hasn't
watched
really
one
come.
episode, right? So all comments are going to be that only happened in one episode.
Yeah, but it doesn't really come up, but twice as much. That's all you mentioned, and never comes out again.
I
Because he
literally
might be a
mentioned
fan.
3 times it comes up. Technically, it comes up 4 times because I didn't note the last one, but it comes up 4 times. It's established he is a wrestling fan. I'm sorry, your point was what?
No, never mind. I had no point. My point got lost.
Tachi and Yui both have such messy rooms that I'd believe they were tossed by a burglar, if not for the fact that they are just messy teenagers.
That was a comment. That was a note that led me to ask about what happens if you are in another person's body and that body that you're inhabiting dies.
Which then led me to go on a tangent about souls, consciousness, memories. I think my direct answer to which caused that whole discussion was you die.
Yeah.
Because you're inhabiting the body, and then it's like, are you the memories of that person? In which case it was like, is this a chemical process? Because if you entered another person's body with just their body, they would have the neurons already set up to remember everything that they remembered. So does your memory, if your memory transfers with you, that indicates that your memory, aka your consciousness, is something other, and is your consciousness your soul? Because that's the more famous thing to exist beyond death, right?
Yeah.
Is your soul and your consciousness the same thing? I think I even did a whole thing about robots, right? Taking the memory chip out of one robot and putting it in another, and then the other robot dies. So the memory chip that's in that robot dies.
It's destroyed, yeah.
Yeah, and then I guess if you think of the memory chip as the soul, in which case you could take that memory chip out of that robot and put it back into another robot, you're transferring your soul around. Or I guess a memory chip absent of a robot body is a soul in heaven, you know?
On stasis, I suppose. Limbo.
Or sitting on a computer reader. Where the computer can read it, where it's an open access memory. Iori's mom is either being presented as absent-minded or overworked. Based on Iori's words, it's clearly leaning towards overworked, and that Iori is mindful of this, to the point that when burned, doesn't want to make an issue for her mother to worry about.
Yeah, and I commented off the cuff that I don't know exactly what that means. As being the child of somebody who was my mom's single mom through divorce, and knowing that your mom was exhausted and you had to sort of
literally same. But that's why I literally made the comment about latchkey kid, which I don't know if anyone even knows what that means anymore. Having a key specifically for your kid hanging around so they can get back in the house because you're not going to be present, which actually goes against laws, but you do what you got to do. As a latchkey kid, I'm not going to complain about other latchkey kids. Because that's the basis of society, right? To at least make a world as good as the one you were in, preferably better. So, I'm not going to complain about as good as. Hopefully, though, better than.
One would hope, yes.
According to Himiko's brother, she's single. You know, that character that you thought was another guy living in the same house.
Oh, yeah. Good for them, I guess.
Again, we need to spot all details about these characters because we're going to need to know when they're in other people's bodies. So any information we have on their personalities. It's interesting that Yoshifumi waited until morning to text Yui about it possibly being a dream, I'd think the moment you switched back to your body, you try to reach out to confirm what happened, especially when you have such a direct line to the other person. Like, well, knowing Japan, what I assume is actually the line program, which isn't me
Lineup,
reiterating a joke. It was just me thinking about Love is War.
lineup, yeah, yeah. Actually, lineup seems to be in a lot of anime because they,
It's common.
well, not just common. You can tell where they're being sponsored by Line App because they literally go out of the way and say, "Oh, do you have Line? Yes, I have Line." No, they they really
I don't
put it in
think
there.
it's even to that level. I think there's a line. It's just ubiquitous in Japan.
No, but yeah, but they do. Line does a lot of sponsorship of anime for that
I mean,
very
I
specific
understand the
purpose.
like other programs are available. It's like if I said
Yeah,
in an anime, "Oh, I'm just gonna Discord you this later," and like, why did he say Discord specifically? It's like because that's the thing. Like, I'm gonna, I'm gonna, I'm gonna Skype it to you. Like, what?
yeah. But it's also remember that anime has a long tradition of skirting that line. Like, oh, a famous picture would come to
McDonald's.
me. Yeah, McDonald's, Pepsi, Quoni instead of
Yeah, but I think
Sony.
that's also just a history thing. I don't think it's
Yeah,
as current anymore. Like there are anime that do it, but I think they do it to continue their tradition more so than the
yeah,
legalities. Like, at this point, it's more they're not paying us, and it's whack Donald's more so than we don't want our brands associated with you because I
yeah,
think that's so much free advertising that you're just
yeah,
not gonna, what do you mean the devil is part time working at a McDonald's in Japan?
yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty good advertising. Yeah. I'm not going to
The
complain.
devil's in the devil's in the details, and the
And
sauce
McDonald's.
apparently. Yeah,
Szechuan sauce is so hot because of the devil. I'll be honest, I had never tried Szechuan sauce. I don't know if it's hot or not.
I think it's pretty sweet. I think.
Yeah, I have no idea. I'm not someone who's trying random sauces. Like the Minecraft. That's what I was thinking. The Minecraft hot sauce or whatever the hell it is. I'm not going to try it. One, I'm not into hot sauce. Two, I know what sauces I like. I'm going to die having eaten the same sauces I ate as a 12-year-old at McDonald's.
Yeah.
Honey mustard, by the way, if anyone was asking. No one was. Currently September, especially hot. Tachi likes it hot, but also can't tell when the seasons change. Alright, quote here. In Japanese, there are 3 words for heart. Shinzu, which refers to the physical organ, hato, which is the angelicized word for a love heart, and kokoro, which means, well, that's more difficult to explain. Kokoro is well understood in Japanese, but difficult to explain in English, says Yoshikawa Sakiko, director of Kyoto University's Kokoro Research Center. Conceptually, it unites the notions of heart, mind, and spirit. It sees 3 elements as being indivisible from one another. For example, if we say she has good kokoro, it means heart and spirit and soul and mind all together. One of the problems of discussing kokoro in English is that by linking words, heart and spirit and mind, with and, we imply divisions that simply don't exist in Japanese. But in this Eastern culture, the 3 aren't intrinsically linked as one, they are one, said Efrent Levini from Quartz in 2017.
It seems like, well, the closest thing that appears in my mind, it's a balance of the humors, right? It's a holistic vision of who you are. And if that is somewhat unbalanced, then you have a bad kokoro, but you have a good kokoro, that means that you have a nice balance between all these elements, which I consider to be one and the same.
I appreciate that we came up with 2 different examples. Technically, there are 3 humors, right? Because my example
Well,
was God.
choleric. Well, you talk about the Holy
Yeah,
Trinity. Yeah.
the Holy Trinity. That is God.
Yes,
God is the Son, the Father, and the Holy Ghost.
Holy Spirit. Yeah.
It's 3 in one, and literally that is the argument: is that they are
Holy
the
Ghost.
same being.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
yet separate.
Well, my favorite form of the Holy Ghost is that when he comes back as Bob Cratchit.
Yeah. Not so holy that time.
Anyway, but yeah, go ahead, keep naming the humors.
I think choleric. That's the only one I could.
One of them starts with a
Sanguine.
B.
But
It's four
Belio?
letters.
Balik?
4 letters,
What is
starts with a
that?
B.
I know. I'm
I
trying
have
to
a
figure out
problem
what it is.
digesting. It's why I use the bathroom all the time.
Bio.
No,
Bio.
Beale is the name of a demon.
Yeah.
Or an
Bio.
alley. An alley,
Yeah.
McBeal.
Yeah. Bio, choleric, sanguine. I don't remember the other
You've
one.
already claimed there's only 3, so it's going to be real hard for you to name a 4th one.
I think they're 4. Because they're supposed to be.
I said, hey, there's only 3 biles, right? And you said, yes. So now you know you have to die on that hill. You can never be wrong now. That's the way it works.
No.
The human condition is that you say something wrong, and then you kill anybody that says that you're wrong.
Otherwise, yes.
Anybody who knows the correct information is only existing to prove you wrong. You cannot take that, right? That's an affront to you as a person, so you have to kill
they
them.
must die, yeah.
All right, the opening features, by the way, as I mentioned before, didn't really watch the opening. Anyway, the opening features a scene of chalkboard with the messages from the students, in this case, first one all about Tachi. Class 1-3, loves his sister. Talk clearer, hopeless wrestling fanatic. That's my 4th one when I said listing of that's a quality he has. Smile more. Yageshi over Tachi. I'll play with you later. Next one is for Iori. Class 1-3, I'm not doing erotic. I love Iori. Cute. Best smile ever. This one was crossed out. Will you go out with me? Let's go shopping tomorrow. That comic was really good. I want some curry. Yamaboshi High School's cutest girl.
That's saying a lot, yeah.
And then,
from his position, probably.
And then Inaba, rather. Class 1-3, scary. I'm so sorry. I'll bring you some milk. I'm sorry I was born. Curry hot pot. Smile. But I like her. Again, inflection is on me. I have no idea how these written are meant to be read. Then Yui, class 1-1, me/Yui, heart. Why not just marry him? Go out with him. I'm tired of this. I love you forever. Let's go to Disneyland. In heaven and on earth, I alone am honored.
Wow. That probably sounds in Japanese much simpler than it says in English.
It sounds pretty simple in English.
No, but it sounds very lofty, like in heaven and in earth, and it's just like.
I mean, it's not even that lofty. I'm pretty sure the source of that is Don Quixote.
Really?
I remember it very specifically as a Don Quixote quote. God, well, it's not the exact wording.
No, I mean when he's talking about Dulcinea.
Stop. I was like right on the edge, and you started fucking talking. It's all in heaven and earth. All something is reserved explicitly for me. Is his quote, and it's basically exactly that. It's like different wording, but that's the source. Like, God damn it! It was. I love Don Quixote. I just fucking love Don Quixote. I had a whole ranking of like the top 5 Don Quixote movies that I went over once, including the John Lithgow made-for-TV movie on TNT that I believe also featured what's his name? He played Mario in the Mario movie.
Yeah, as Sancho Panza. Yes.
Yeah, I love that one too. Because he has the best speeches. But I believe The Man Who Killed Don Quixote with Adam Driver is also like up there. But it's like not itself a Don Quixote movie, even though it features very specifically like all the same stuff.
If it's Don Quixote,
and I would live forever.
Quote, then I mean Cervantes probably meant it as ludicrous and as exaggerated as.
Well, that's what I was saying when you were saying it's like you were indicating towards the depth of the quote, and I was saying it's a Don Quixote quote, so it's not meant to be as strong as it's coming across. It's
as
meant
dramatic.
to
But
Yeah.
also, I think the thing is sometimes when we translate things from either, and I'm not saying these are the same languages. This is more of a Western interpretation. Chinese or Japanese terms, a few, no, not many. Especially when we talk about historical terms, they sound in English or in Spanish very lofty, and for the Chinese or South Korean or Japanese speakers, like, no, that's just pretty common saying. You're just making it like it's just great. The great sage of heaven is like, no, just well, actually, that was a lofty title because Monkey was being a jackass, but still.
Sorry, I can't. I was trying to Google it real quick while you were talking, and I am he for whom are reserved great dangers and great deeds and valiant feats. It's not exactly the quote I was remembering. So clearly it gets not remastered.
Interpret it.
Yeah, reinterpreted in different forms. I do love talking Don Quixote, but I am not in my best mental state to remember everything correctly. This is one of those things when you talk about something that you really enjoy, you want to get it right. If I was going to actually come around talking about Don Quixote, I'd want to have like a notepad full of notes to get everything down and not like flummox out mistakes. I'm not one of those experts that would just pop up on screen and be like, oh yeah, because, the study of this, or, you remember when Don Quixote has the visions of his maiden fair, and blah, 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 blah. I forgot, we're not done. We have Yoshifumi, Class 1-1. Sorry, I can't go out with you, seriously. I want curry. Do tomorrow's homework yet? If you're a real man, don't give up.
Yeah, those mixed signals.
Is it?
Yeah, I think so.
How?
Because she says, I can't go out with you. I'm sorry, I can't work, but if you're a real man, don't give up.
Why are you implying that Yui is the one that wrote the message, if you're a real man, don't give up? When she said, I don't want to go out with you. Who's to say Tachi didn't write, if you're a real man, don't give up?
That doesn't sound like Tachi.
Well, does it sound like Yui to say, I don't want to go out with you, and then write, if you're a real man, don't give up?
No, I'm not saying that.
Then I don't think that makes a lot of sense to claim that Yui is the one that wrote that message, especially when we know there's a lot of other characters. At Yamabishi High School, all students have to join a club. No pro wrestling club, fancy club, closed down. Players club are rumored to exist. Homeroom teacher can pick a club for you. There is a computer club, but Himiko had a falling out with the president. Cultural research club founded by 5 first years with nowhere else to go. Kokoro Connect came out in 2012, assuming it's set that year and in September as previously mentioned. Then 120 yen per peak at Iori Shorts would be $1.50 a peak in US.
No comment.
The opening, sharing character info via the chalkboard can also get confusing if I were to try and use it as a basis of figuring out who is who in a body swap scenario. As, like a game of Guess Who, they each have crossover qualities with one another. Like Yoshifumi mentions comics on his own in the club room, but Iori is the one who the board implies is suggesting comics to people.
I mean, they could be both manga nerds.
That's what I'm saying. If you were trying to only imply who's who by the associated qualities of the chalkboard in the beginning, a bunch of them mentioned curry. That's what I'm saying. The Guess Who thing of, are you wearing glasses? Yes.
Yeah.
All right, that's 5. And then everybody else is still up. Yoshifumi implies that he moved stuff around in Yui's room, panicking during the switch, explaining the mess that her room was in. But the show also expresses that Tachi's room was a mess at the beginning of the episode, as I mentioned before. Is that either meant to be a subversion to say that Tachi is just messy, or to make us think that Tachi has possibly switched with someone else and hasn't mentioned it yet, or doesn't remember?
I think he would remember.
Would he? What if you're asleep when you switch?
I think you will wake up.
Why? Not why would you wake up, why do you think that?
I think so because he would disrupt your REM sleep, right? You're not the same person, the same body.
You're saying right as though there's a precedent. I think you'll find in the sleep study program of the 1977 Columbia University incident that when you switch bodies with somebody, it disrupts REM sleep. That's the findings. I can't dispute the journal.
I mean, I'm a lucid dreamer, and I suspect that if I was dreaming someone else's dreams, I would go like, oh,
You
I
wouldn't
don't
be dreaming
recognize any
somebody
of
else's dreams. You'd be dreaming your dream. The concept that you are you is a mainstay of this, because if you weren't you and were somebody else,
Yeah.
you wouldn't have switched bodies. You would just be somebody else. And in which case,
Yeah.
there's no reason to even define that, because if you become someone else and have all of their mental qualities, for all intents and purposes, you are that person. You are no longer you who was somebody else before who switched a body. You are just now them. So you wouldn't be dreaming someone else's dream.
Oh,
That
but
person would
okay,
be dreaming that dream.
I know. You were dreaming, right? That's the last thing you were doing, or maybe you were awake, right? And then you switch bodies. I guess you wake up in a new body because it's like I was awake here, so I'm awake there. My consciousness is awake, right? And then when you go back, you wake him up too, because you wouldn't go back to sleep if you were awake, right? You
I
were caught
would
in the last thing you were doing.
agree to the point that if the body was asleep, you would probably be asleep. I don't think the consciousness can be awake or asleep.
Okay, so let's say you were awake, so you fall asleep immediately.
Yes, yes, because look,
but
here's
the person
thing.
who was sleeping,
Somebody who suffers from extreme fatigue problems because of these fucking medications that I'm on, you can just go from being really awake to being really asleep. It's just a thing that fucking happens, says the yawning guy. I'm saying that that's not inconceivable, because it is body chemistry. The consciousness is what's allowing you to acknowledge that you are looking through somebody else's eyes. If that person is extremely tired, I assume that when you switch, and by tired, like, say you were on your couch watching TV, and then you switch into the body of somebody who's just like done an hour of working out, I assume you are going to be extremely tired. You are going to feel all of the exhaustion that they now have, and they are going to feel probably a lot worse because they are a person that works out and you are a couch potato. So, you are going to notice that. And if that is something that you could reasonably notice, then I assume if you were asleep, the same conditions apply, that you are now also going to be asleep, because REM sleep is also just a body condition. You are going to be in REM sleep. You're going to be, whatever you were doing, suddenly now having in a dream state. And not everyone's a lucid dreamer, so you are just going to be in a dream state uncontrolled.
So you're awake, you switch bodies, you're asleep. If you're asleep and you switch bodies,
you stay asleep. Yeah. Because I think the element at play is that your consciousness is not the body. But see, somehow we got back to this, which is great because we did it organically and not just trying to remember what we did before. Your consciousness is not your body. I don't think your body is going to freak out due to having a new consciousness in it, because it's operating on not circadian rhythm. It's operating on its own natural instinct. You know, the same way that you don't think about breathing, your spinal column just handles it for you until you consciously think about it.
I hope it's not my spinal column, because otherwise that would be pretty.
Well, no, actually, your spinal cord does handle those like your heartbeat and everything like that. That's handled by your spinal cord, not your brain.
Yeah, I mean, but my diaphragm. Yeah. Anyway, when it comes to breathing, but sure.
No, I'm talking about the instinctual. Not, I might be using the word wrong. Instinctual, the unconscious control, the ability that you don't consciously think about breathing all the time.
Oh,
you,
yeah.
You know, how many times do you breathe per minute? You're not better breathe, better exhale. You know, you don't think about it. It's an unconscious thing. That's what your spinal cord controls.
I cast conscious breathing.
Oh yeah, those short videos. But yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. That I think that's so not related to your consciousness that you switching wouldn't affect the body, that it's going to freak out and wake up. I think you're just going to be put into a weird state of you were awake a second ago and now you're in a dream world For you just got fucking isekai'd, my man. You don't know what the hell's going on. Oh man, I was hoping to get isekai into a fantasy world, but this fucking doesn't make any sense. Why is my mother talking to me as a giant crab? You know, like what the hell's going on?
Okay, good. Reading your next note.
I was hoping that you were gonna have more input because this was like the most interesting thing we talked about last time. But it's very much seems like you gave. That's the worst thing. I hate when I convince you. I'm never actually. I don't feel like I'm ever trying to win the argument. I'm just having to. I really enjoy the discussion.
I don't have a counter argument because there's no way for me to argue that outside of it just happens.
You came into it with the belief that you would wake up, and then I get like a little bit flippant about the Columbia University study of 1977. Yeah, that's right. I even remember what university and what year I said it took place in. But my point is that I said that, and then you like instantly abandoned all belief in what you thought to be true, and it's like,
no, I do still believe the shock of it will wake you up, but where does a shock come from? That's the thing.
I don't think there would be a shock. Like, have you ever had a surgery done? You go from asleep to awake, and the point in between you never remember.
We literally see an effect when they switch, where they go like
no,
like that.
Do not remember that. I remember specifically, we see the guy who's like head down on the table. He closes his eyes, he opens his eyes, and he's the girl looking in the thing. There's no in between. It's literally a blink. That's what I'm saying. There's no, we both got hit by a magical ray and then we switch. So it's like blink and boom, it's done. The switch lasts about 30 to 40 minutes, it seems. They say that. I went back a couple of times trying to find a fucking clock in the room. I swear to God, there is a clock in the room. Or my mouse. It's just the right position. I swear to God, there is a clock above the door to the entrance to the room. But every scene that we see the door, it's like the door top is here and the top of the screen is here. So it's like, God damn it, I know there's a clock right there.
Has to be somewhere. Give me that clock.
I know I saw it. It was in some scene, but it's nowhere around the scenes that I'm looking for it. All right. Anyway, any final thoughts here from your extensive notes collection that you want to throw at the episode?
Yeah. That'll be a negative.
Well, it will be. To a Zope. All right, well, let's go ahead and get into it.
Nagase. で、いいよな。
そっちもtaichiでいいよね。
ああ。さすがにあんなことそう何度もあるはずが。
Again, every time there's a hyphen, I see it on screen. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes they just put hyphens in or dot dot dots.
まさか。
ひょっとして今度は3人で入れ替わっちゃったのかな。なんちゃって。
そうよ。私は桐山優よ。
俺は青木義文なんだよ。私は稲葉姫子だ。
You want to start your argument now, or do you not even remember the argument?
No, I know that didn't make sense. That we're switching three
totally
bodies.
Makes sense. I don't understand why you can't figure out how that would work.
And that still looks to me like an AKG, but
it's not. But we can't talk about that yet. So wait. Well, actually, I guess we can talk about. I don't know. You have to wait. The thing that makes my compelling argument about why it's not an EKG doesn't make sense yet. Well, it actually does make sense because it doesn't fucking look like an EKG. You're just out of your fucking mind. That's right. I'm so upset that you think it's an EKG that I'm cursing. Hey, Chalk, that's a game. Sorry, I even cut that out of the reaction. I talked about that, so I don't know why I bring that up. Yeah, no, they just switch 3 people. You take 3 people, you turn it around. They're not in the same body. It's very simple to understand. Well, at least I thought so. The first time and now. Do you admit now you understand how 3 people can switch bodies?
I guess so.
I mean, It's not a difficult concept.
No, because the thing is, what happens to the third person?
They're in another body. The only thing that has to happen is that all three people are not in the body that they started in. You take one person, you put them in one of the other two bodies. You take the other person, you put them in one of the other two bodies. You take the third person, you put them in one of the other two bodies. They're not going to be in the same body they started in.
お茶もっと飲むか？
私はいい。
もうや耐えられない。どう
I
してこんな可
bet
愛
you,
くない体に
in the
私が入
first
んなきゃいけない
10
の
seconds that I wasn't looking at the screen explaining that to you, there was a fucking clock above that door.
それは
See what I'm talking about?
おかしくないか？
No,
No,
look,
there's no
there's
clock there.
room. There's room above the camera.
ないよね。
But there's no.
You can't see it. How could you tell?
30分ほどで元に戻ったわけだか
I
ら。
don't think that room is that high anyway.
今からでも授業に出たらこのままずっと付き合わせんのも悪いし。
たまにはサボりもいいっしょ。
That's a horrible way to eat chips.
なんか
Yeah, but the idea is not to get your hands stirred.
No, I meant ripping the bag completely open, tearing it in half, and using half of the bag. You have to be dedicated to finishing that bag of chips.
ひょっとして戻ったのか？
のようだな。
Oh yeah, that's something I talked about last time I didn't cover here. The element of I thought aliens were going to be involved from the very beginning because the weird human was in the title.
Yeah.
Because a person would say interesting people. Humans is what aliens say when they fucking show up.
普段は真面目なお前らのことだから気になるっちゃ気になるんだ。
Did you drop your napkin in there? What is that?
I think it's a piece of toast.
I would also argue that I've seen people flavor napkins and eat them, so... It is weird. It is, I would say it's poor people stuff, but as a poor person, yes.
I mean,
As
you're
somebody
eating
that's
cloth?
as someone that's eaten straight condiment before, yeah.
That I can see.
Yeah,
I think
well,
you can digest cloth.
you can digest napkin too. Napkins are made to be extremely biodegradable. So if nature can biodegrade it, I think your stomach acids can too.
I mean, true, but still.
It's not like napkins are super toxic.
Going down your throat.
Sorry, do you never eaten like garlic bread or anything? You eat harder stuff than napkin.
Yeah. Yeah, but garlic bread, when it's done well, it actually kind of melts in your mouth a little bit. So, you know.
Cool, you never eaten food not done well?
Yes.
さすが稲葉だね。
I almost choked on it too.
つきながらあそこまで傲岸不遜な態度を取れるんだからな。
末は詐欺しか当たりやかって感じだね。
お前ら褒める気ないならやめろ。
青木や桐山もうまくごまかせたかな。
うん。で？どうしたの？
I guess in this, the second time watching, it is very clearly Tachi, because he's the one talking and then it goes to her.
Yeah.
But the fact that Yoshifumi is obsessed with her and then she like runs to get away to a bathroom or something.
Yeah.
It very much, sorry, for those of you who don't know, that's what I thought was happening here the first time around. That the guy obsessed with her was in her body and looking to get a free peek or something. I don't like the spacing of that sign.
桐山はそっちか。
It was left
Please
aligned.
watch.
Please wash your hands left aligned. It should be centered. Always centered.
俺は今
トイレに。
No, I don't think the Japanese can be left to right, right to left, and up and down.
おう。心配かけたな。
No, that's Chinese. Chinese is
No,
up
Japanese
and down.
isn't.
No, Chinese is
You
up
can
and
do
down.
Japanese.
Well, they
You can
don't,
do
though.
also Japan.
They don't.
大地は何やってたの？
You can do
No,
Japanese
don't.
up and down. I'm sure they'll show an example of
For
that
the
in
next
this.
20 minutes,
八重樫
this debate of no, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes.
またトイレか。ん？なんか疲れてる。
Frankly, I don't care.
どうかした？
Center aligned, always.
別になんでもない。
Even if it doesn't work,
Oh, there you go. Japanese since vertical.
no, they just put it sideways.
Okay. Yeah.
掃除が長引いて。
What did I tell you before? I'm gonna have to kill you now. You only exist to prove me wrong.
何？どうしたな長瀬？
And then I guess all of Japan. Because they only exist to prove me wrong, too.
したことじゃね
大したことじゃないかどうかは私が
こんなにパニクってるいおりちゃんってマジレアじゃね
Clearly, Yuri-chan has a thing for what's his name?
言っとくべきだったんだが
For him.
でもまれた
With your hands.
自分の
You
Yeah,
touched
but
your
still.
boobs, actually.
だったんだよ
I mean,
No, she
the
wasn't in that
discussion
body.
that we were having at this point was literally you could never use the bathroom because you'd always be worried someone would switch with you in the middle. And are they going to sit there for 40 minutes not touching your junk? Or are they going to leave you dirty? Are you going to come back? You didn't wipe my ass, or you didn't want me touching your ass.
大丈夫
You know?
か先生一体何があったらそんな状態になるんだ
I don't remember when this came out. I know 2010, right? If this was a 90s anime, there'd be a whole thing about I don't want to touch another man's junk.
貧困法
Yeah.
制
I couldn't put your dick away because they didn't want to touch
当時
it.
からの人望も厚い優等生ってとこだ
そんなことより太一いおりちゃんの胸の大きさはどれくらいなんだ
I'm gonna remember B? B cup?
知りたきゃ私が教えてやるよいおりは
Because she's an A cup and Yui is a C
私は
cup.
B でユイが A で
Nope, got it backwards. She's a B, Yori is an A, she's a C.
胸はどんまいかもしれないけどユイには他の魅力がいっぱいあるから
ムカつくからその顔やめて
See, he's saying it like it's a negative, but we know him and Tachi are into big boobs. Vis-a-vis the last porn that they watched, thing we know from the first episode. See, the shit I remember about these shows.
それより藤島さんのことよ私一体どうしたら
今は入れ替わりの話だろうが
Your CGI door is clearly CGI.
と
強盗かいつからそこにいた
今来たばかりですけどね
Yeah, this was not creepy at all.
どうした
It's not really.
体調でも悪いのか
It
It'd
is
be
kinda.
creepier if he was like a little bit more
バッチリですよ
alien, more,
この人が何健康
or even more energetic.
ただ
I'm not afraid of the stoner.
根気とか
Like-
勇気とか
I mean, when I say creepy, it's not necessarily as fear. It's just off-putting, which is not the same thing.
Yeah, it's not the same thing. I don't think creepy is the word that applies here.
どうしたのよ
そりゃ皆さんがいい感じに人格
I don't know. I guess there's an overlap in the word creepy and off-putting, because like the guy leering at you from across the way can be
お
creepy,
っさんなんでそのこと知って
but off-putting. Like the two words.
And I would say and off-putting.
I
Well,
don't
he's
know.
off-putting
If
because
you're-
he is
If you're
creepy,
into it, it can be creepy, but off-putting.
but not off-putting.
No, but off-putting. Like if you're into it, it's creepy, but off-putting. Normally I'm into it, but this time.
誰
But yeah, it's clearly alien script.
あんた誰
It's also clearly fucking not an EKG. An EKG doesn't loop back in on itself to make an O. There's no possible way you can make an O with an EKG.
千かずら
Maybe you meant oscilloscope? Like an oscilloscope reading? Because you could
Yeah,
make an
man.
O with an oscilloscope.
Yeah.
まあ立場で言えば皆さんを監視する存在みたいな感じで今のところはこの後藤先生の体に曲がりさせてもらっている
Man, he's having a hell of a time in an alien spaceship. Though, no, they never. Well, don't remember yet. It hadn't happened. We'll cover this in
Yeah.
5 minutes from now.
はい
ってことは
Had we not watched this for the first time, I would say he's having a cool time in an alien spaceship until later.
まあとりあえず当分の間皆さん5人の中で時々アトランダムに人格が入れ替わるんです
誰と
Well, that can't be true.
関わるのかもいつ
The random part can't be true.
ああさすが長
I mean, you have a limitation on the permutations since they're five.
No.
six
I
people.
mean that you're. What are you, God? Are you just like, and it happens, or is it technology? In which case, you have to target individual people. You have to choose what's happening. And even then, if it's not, if it's just like a random computer program, the computer program is deciding, unless it's not random.
いいだろ
I mean, you can randomize the possibilities, but there's a limitation to those possibilities.
Even
There's
when you
always-
randomize the possibilities, you're choosing at the very
う
end. Again, if it's a technology that takes their consciousness and puts them into a body,
お前の目的は
you have to target them.
質問のチョイスですね
I mean, it's like rolling die. You choose to roll die, you don't choose which number comes up.
Right, but at the end, I'm saying that random implies no choice. a rolled dice is a result.
あと
Is a result.
まあ適当に入れ替わってもらって
Yeah, but it's a random
そこそこ面
result.
白かった
Right,
a
but
deliberate
I'm
action.
equating the dice roll to the computer randomly choosing. The computer is making a bunch of choices and then outputs a result. I'm equating randomness to nature.
皆さんあんまり気にし
And
ないで
even that
普通
isn't
に生
random.
活して
It's
くだ
just
さい
undecipherable
入れ
to
替わ
us
り
as
がどういう
humans
原理で
because we don't
成り立ってい
understand
る
it
か
well
と
enough
か
yet.
そういうのも考えない方がいいですよ
You know, it's like a cloud graph or whatever you call it, where you
あと皆さんの間で
track
人格が
every
入れ替わってる
molecule in a
ことは
cloud. It is just beyond our ability at the moment, but is itself not
ややこしいことになる
incomprehensible.
でしょうからじゃあ頑張ってください心の上っ面のところでちょっとだけ応援してますから
待てこっちにはまだ聞きたいことが山ほ
Do
どあ
you
るんだ
know
よ
karate?
皆さんがすべきことはそういうのじゃないんですけど
お前の都合だけで物事が進むと思うなよ
Shit, this guy knows karate. We got a badass over here.
No apologetic for you straight.
And this is what I said last time. I appreciated that they had
Yeah.
like 5 chances to show us upskirt, and they didn't.
それじゃあまた
They held back on fan service, and I appreciate it because that tells me that that's not what the show is about. Despite the fact we had self-groping scenes and all this fun little talk about shit, it's not what they're actually focusing on.
ユイって中学の空手チャンピオンなのに
Again, not the brag you think it is. That the
No, even middle school is like-
that the adult beat up a middle school karate champion.
Like 9th grade or even 10th grade.
I'm just saying it's an adult and a middle school karate champion. I don't care about any technicality in there. If you went outside your room and said, "Hey, I just watched an adult beat up a middle school karate champion," no one would be like, "Oh, that's surprising." Like they might be surprising about the concept that an adult just beat up. It's not surprising that the adult won.
誰かに相談した方がいいのかな
The adult's got reach, age, weight, like everything is going for the
や
adult.
やこしいことになるって
だな奴の言葉がどこまで信用できるかはともかく厄介な騒ぎになるのは間違いない
It would be a shit show if the alien showed up just to lie.
Yeah.
Especially like, oh no, it's actually happening to you at random. I have nothing to do with this. I'm just watching this thing happen to
可
you.
能な限り連絡を取り合い状況を確認する
It may quite well be that he's not actually doing it. It's just that he's just a watch.
I think
He seemed like he
it was
was a-
implied.
He was assigned to watch you.
I mean, like if you got poisoned and then I showed up, so instantly you think I poisoned you. It's like, no, I'm here to watch you
Yeah.
get poisoned.
It's
like, what?
お前ら注意力がなさすぎるまずは処方中の処方誰か異性と入れ替わっているとき男子トイレと女子トイレ間違えたことのあるやつは
And this is actually where my whole conversation about never going to the bathroom showed up.
やっぱ癖がねついね
何がついねだおかげで私たちトイレに入りにくくなっただろう
I have to feel like this is the kind of show where if you had diarrhea, they would switch you.
なるべくトイレ行っとかない
Oh.
今トイレに行きづらくなったって話を
Oh,
してたんだ
that means yeah, because once you realize that,
私
oh,
たち女子がタイチか青木になった
Well, yeah, again, it's a body thing, right? You can't just stop in the middle.
必然的に
no, but in the shock of changing, you're like, oh,
ここまで拒否を起こさなくても
Well, I would say the shock of changing would be more so that if you were in the middle of diarrhea and then you got switched back into your body, where you're already a clamped down
気
response,
にしなければ大丈夫
you might just shit yourself.
私なんてもうタッチションできるようになったし
それはさすがに気にしろよつうかどこまで本気なんだ
Yeah, I suppose it would be harder to, as a woman, to learn to pee standing up than a man to learn pee sitting down.
yeah,
大丈夫だ
you just sit down, I guess.
You guess. Never done it before, as a man.
No, but I mean, I think the wiping part will be the part that would be weird
Again,
for a
we
man,
already
but-
literally discussed this because I brought it up earlier.
本当か
Specifically, again, I brought it up this time, last time, but
Uh-huh.
before when they were talking about touching themselves, and it's like,
Yeah,
if you don't want them touching you, then wiping is going to be a real hard problem when you're the guy occupying a woman's body.
あれって
I mean, technically,
They're in close proximity to one another.
yes.
ああ、それね。言ってなかったけど
Different holes,
うちの両
same
親離
trench.
婚してて、母親と二人暮らしなんだよ。
That's the super adult way I decided to put that.
忙しくて
Yes.
そこいらの男なら催涙スプレーぶっかけてバッカバカにしてやればいいから大丈夫だよ。全然大丈夫じゃない。そんな
I don't want you assholes to be in my body and put me at risk.
Yeah.
ごめん。
Yeah. Something happened to her, or she's afraid of something that saw someone else experience something that
Yeah,
has her
something
triggered
happened to
like
her,
that.
and then she went and joined karate to learn self-defense. I mean, pretty on the nose.
こんなこと
Like I said, I think I said this at the same point around last time is better hope none of your friends are creeps because you don't want to switch bodies, wake up in your body and find you've been tied to the bed somehow.
沖の視点なわけか
And they're like, I'm on my way.
お前永瀬か
正解
This could super easily turn into how one of my friends turned out to be a serial killer.
違うのよ。別にいおりに触られるのが嫌とかじゃなくて。
Well, you do mind because you've rejected him at every opportunity.
ああ分かってる分かってる
No, but I think he's talking about Nagase,
私もちょっ
not
と無神経
you
だ
know,
ったかも
Yori.
ね
No. Yori is someone else.
Well-
She's Yori.
Yeah, I understand that somebody else doesn't have a body right now. I'm just saying. Oh, sorry.
なかなか元に戻らないな
There's a triple element at play here.
どうしたんだよ
Yeah.
But I'm only addressing half of it.
やっちまった
さっきの桐山とのやりとりのことかそれとも他に心配なことでもあるのか何か俺に助けてやれることはないか
ここで永瀬伊織から太一へのクエスチョンタイム
なんだよ
私たちは暗黙のうちに魂とか意識とか
I suppose this would be a real challenge as a voice actor. I'm gonna need you to talk like this character that this other voice actor has established. You'd have to be with every voice actor to get with one another to try and practice talking as other characters that you yourself didn't come up with.
Yeah. And this is also early in the show too, so you know.
I mean, you might
How much-
establish this ahead of time
True,
that
but
you're going to have to voice
production-
act like each character. You might even do this ahead of time to come up with voices that each other person in the show would be able to do.
But still, it depends how much prep time you have on the production schedule, right?
I mean,
Which
this
we know
could
they're
be, this
going to
could
be
be a day.
pretty tight.
Could be a day's worth of. I mean, I'm not a voice actor, even though some of my friends back in the day tried to get me to be one when I had a different voice, by the way. My voice has changed.
おお太一
おかえり
はあ戻ったよ
So Taichi and Nagase clearly likes Taichi. Taichi hasn't really
I don't
committed to
think that's
Nagase.
clear.
I think it is.
Well, I've already said I don't think
いつ
it
もの
is,
長瀬じゃ
so
ないみたいだった
my opinion isn't going to be swayed by I think it is from you.
かもしれないんだけど
Because the way she acts around him, so confident
そういう風に
and dropping all these hints,
どうした
like,
どうした
you know.
あ
Yeah, like being upset that you touched my boobs. Big old hint.
Well, I think that actually crossed a line,
うちも
basically.
3人手伝うことになったの。誰かやってくれない？
Like this one clearly thinking she's into girls. Big old hint.
私は部活で忙しいから無理。はいはい、分かってるわよ。3人のうち1人は私がやるから、あと2人。俺やるよ。
See what I'm saying? Imagine that's that, but taking shit.
稲葉さん、やってくれる？
If you were in the middle of raising your hand, that implies muscle control immediately spreads from one to the other.
私
You are going to shit yourself.
そう。
やめろ離れろ
Also, I wouldn't get real cocky, because what if you volunteered in your body and then you get switched for the 30 minutes that you have to do this? So, even though the body has there, you are now forced to do it.
Oh no, I see what happened here because I thought it was Nagase was in Tachi's body, but no, it's
そうだな この際はっ
No,
きり答えて
Tachi
おこう
switched into her body.
何言うつもりだ
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
俺
so
は俺の女だ
that's the whole shit
あい
thing.
つには近づかないでもら
Yeah,
おう
so it's not, it's not. I
No,
thought it was
I'm
Yori who
saying
was
that
saying
Tachi wants to go to volunteer. Then he switches in Nagase's body, and her hand comes up. By the way, wrestling
俺
reference.
が永瀬を好き
Yeah.
だ
男が近くに来ると体がビクンってなるんだけど
目つきが怪しいわよ
いいから任せろってそっかお母さんがいいならそれでいいと思うよ
自己犠牲野郎
Anyway, and then her hand comes up, right? And
Yeah.
then what if, while Tachi obviously goes to go with her because it's his fault that she's going to begin with, or technically,
Yeah.
I guess she then raises her hand in his body, but
Mhm.
then later, Yui and whoever switch with Tachi and them, and then they're off doing the thing. Like, you might not even ever have to pay for this because you might switch before it ever happens. And then those
But in
people,
this
for the
case, it
next
was
30, 40
Nagase
minutes-
who was in Tachi's body.
Yeah, I know,
I
it's the
thought it
scene
was-
transition. It's the scene
Yeah.
transition as though it didn't take them
So
30 to
it's
40. Like, literally, they've got full bags of garbage, implying that they
Yeah.
literally filled up full on bags within 30 to
No.
40 minutes of the switch.
But the thing is, I thought it was Yori who was in Tachi's body. So I thought it was Yori saying inside Tachi, "Oh, I like your Tachi likes me."
Sorry.
You know what I'm
that
saying?
doesn't even make sense. Because
No,
to
but it
you,
was
no,
that-
I'm saying it doesn't
that-
make sense to your logic because of your I don't understand how the 3 switch thing works. And then you're implying that the 2 people that switched and then a third person switched in.
No. I was mistaken. That's what I'm saying. That I was mistaken on who switched with whom.
No, I understand that, but
I
I'm
wasn't.
working off your initial premise before you realize you were mistaken, because your initial premise implies a 3-person switch that
Yeah.
you don't think makes sense already.
Yeah. But it was Nagase in Tachi's body who defended Yori by saying Tachi likes Yori.
By the way,
so
who are
leave
you
her
saying? You mean Yui?
alone. Yui, yeah.
You were saying Yore, and I've just been working with it,
Yori,
assuming you meant Yui.
Yori. Yori.
Y-U-I.
Iori. That's the name. of
Okay,
her.
that's what I'm just confused by, because you were
Yeah,
saying Yori, who is the...
Yori.
you were saying
Not
Yuri.
Yui.
No, you were saying Yuri, which sounds like you might have been talking about Yui, and I'm like, that's the blonde girl. She's not even present in this scene,
No,
which is why
Yori.
I was talking about the 3-person switch, because it sounded like you were talking about another person coming in, where I now understand you meant the third girl that was present in the scene.
Okay.
The one that was... You don't have to explain. I literally just explained that I understood what you meant, and then explained it out back to you. So you explaining it now would be the third time this would be coming back and would not be necessary.
Okay. So, but to that final scene, that thing that he pulls the pliers. I don't know. They're not pliers. They're like
Grabbers.
Grabbers. That's Nagase in
Sorry,
Tachi's
no.
body.
When you said whatever you said, you made me think of grabbers. Those aren't grabbers. Those are tongs.
Tongs, yes. I don't know whether we're using it to pick up garbage. but
Because
I
they were
guess-
also wearing gloves. But, I mean, it's garbage. You don't touch it with your hands. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
You had
Yeah, but
access
those
to tongs. Don't
Those
use
tongs,
tongs.
tongs look like kitchen tongs, right? Something you would use in the kitchen, not to grab like garbage up the street. But it doesn't matter.
I
They're
mean,
using it.
I don't know. I don't know why this is a sticking point for you, but yeah, use any tongs. Tongs are tongs.
Yeah. Anyway, before I get out of the subject, this is what I got wrong, and I want to set up right. Nagase is in Tachi's body, and when Nagase pulls out the tongs and points at the class representatives, I think, "Oh, Yori is my woman," right? That's what she says.
Again, I think this is just a Three's Company situation. I'm implying this thing to make you think it so that I don't have to deal with this. And at the same time, Tachi knows nothing is going on between us, so it's a safe thing for me to say. Now, if Tachi is like you, suddenly they're going to be weird about it because they think, oh, this clearly means that they're into me. Whereas they meant it as a safe thing.
Yeah, Nagase is trying to protect Yori from the class rep, but if they switch back and they talk about it, I think it's going to be one of them. I think Yori's going to go. But why did you say that?
This reminds me of the whole Michelle needs to write another letter back. And then we watch episode 12 and it's like, oh, all this shit came because they probably wrote a letter back. And then he got this whole, oh man, this stings for the rest of my life because they kept writing letters back. if you just listen to me and stop writing fucking letters, dead end this chain right now. This is the same thing. You're like, oh, they saying this because clearly they actually mean it. I actually might have a thing for this person.
No. Nagase is saying it to protect Yori from the class president. But when they come back to each other's bodies and explain what happened, it's going to be a little awkward.
It's all going to be awkward. Again, someone's shitting their pants.
Not
Literally.
yet.
Yeah, not yet, but it's going to happen. Like, I mean, depending. Like, it seems like we've switched 4 times today. So,
Yeah.
what's the frequency here? And how often do you use the bathroom? Like, I'm just saying, someone's shitting their pants. This is going to be a week-long thing. Someone's shitting their pants more than once.
Yeah.
Especially now that we've covered that motor control transfers from body to body. So, if you're squeezing that sphincter, it's going to cover two bodies. You better hope. Like, we need to go on a diet this week so that none of us, like, every morning, I need everyone to, like, eat as much colon below as possible, and hopefully none of us switch in the morning.
God. Oh, yeah, colon below. I remember that.
No, I'm saying we need to blow ourselves out as quickly as possible. Like, eat as much as you can and then colon blow it out, because we need to make sure, like, stop drinking water for the rest of the day. Like, I don't know what's going to happen here.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, I don't want to switch anyone's pissing or peeing, like, or sorry, pooping and peeing. Like, I need to make sure, like, I don't want anyone switching into me while I'm in the middle of pooping and peeing. Like, I say we all watch the last 10 minutes of Final Destination and learn from that guy what we need to do, which is say, lock ourselves into a clean room and do anything possible not to risk anything.
On that very stinky note, I think we're done here.
Literally, that my last note was not stinky at all. My last note was literally about not being stinky.
Oh, well, yeah, but
I also, my last note was technically about living in a clean room. So it was literally the opposite of a stinky note. However, for the rest of you, I'm now playing the brown note, which I've edited in to make you all. I wonder, technically, I guess the brown note is a urban myth. So it's like, I instantly thought to myself, I wonder if YouTube has any rules about that. It's like, it's an urban myth. It doesn't exist. So I couldn't technically do it. However, everyone listen to this real quick. If future me has any humor in them, they've inserted the sound of a fart.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I don't think I can make this any more cost effective. So let's go ahead and wrap up. I have been Theta. This has been Lessons. We've been Stoneface Reactions, and we will catch you next time. Bye-bye.